let me say that some of the visionaries of PETRONAS in those days really understood the roadmap, and then again I learned planning, very important. So whilst you want to change, you want to transform, the planning and then implementation was important. So anyway, so those are things I learned in the early years of me in PETRONAS, and somehow or other, because of PETRONAS, got stumbled into project management. And again, partly because of my engineering training, but partly about how to convert things and make it more useful, more user friendly. I got into project management. So the first, and unfortunately for all of us, mega projects means big bucks. So and of course, in Malaysia boleh, with the Malaysia boleh spirit, can do everything in a very short time. And after that, they collapse, don't worry. But we're worried about it. They must give work for more contractors to come back and repair, okay? Like the Parliament House. I'm sure there's a contractor behind this. Only making the links of that. Anyway, so here we are. Again, in the case of, and again, this is another one of those things which I thought was particularly good. The project that I was working in PETRONAS in those early years was PETRONAS Gas Utilization Project. It's a PGU project for all of you. By the time I got into it, it was phase 2. Phase 1 was basically what we were doing, and get this, those of you who are environmentalists in this room, and this is particularly true in some of the countries in Africa, for instance, Nigeria as an example. Most of us know how to use oil. Okay, I mean most companies and the easiest thing to do is actually just of course people like in the Gulf of Mexico are not probably would agree with me today. Very easy to extract oil. Okay, they all agree with me. It's too easy. Sometimes you can spill it. So it's very easy to extract oil, but to make the oil usable is where the difficulty comes. So what we were doing in the middle 80s. Malaysia's oil or assets, petroleum assets, actually very rich in gas. So what we were doing in those days was flaring the gas, because we only knew how to handle the oil. Don't know what to do with the gas, so we just burn it. And I'm serious, we just burnt it. So you can imagine, after about 3 or 4 years, people figure out, hey, actually, can you use gas? Light bulb. So that suddenly, technology now became possible. In those days, technology was not that easy, Okay, so now we've got technology. You can do liquefied natural gas. You can extract LPG, ethane, methane. So I won't bore you with the details, but there are about 4 gases that you can extract from oil, which then can be usable. And with LNG, you liquefied natural gas. You basically make gas liquid that you can put in storage in big tanks and then put on tankers, sent to Japan. So which is what we're doing. Okay? Most of our gas, which we now don't flare, we now cleverly convert it into liquefied LNG, liquefied natural gas, put it into tanks, and then sell it to South Korea and Japan for a ton of money, which is much better than the subsidized gas price that we get from Malaysians who don't want to pay, don't want to give their subsidies up. So wanting to bankrupt the country, quote unquote, it is Anyway, but what we are doing now, so the first mega project I got involved with was PETRONAS Gas Utilization Project, and that at that point was a 740-kilometer pipeline from Kerteh to West Coast and to Singapore, because we were not just selling gas to our power stations in the West Coast, we were also selling gas to Singapore. Another very friendly party that we are now best friends with, and I'm pleased to be part of that best friends approach. And again, interesting legacy issues aside. But anyway, so move on with that and suddenly became the expert on gas pipelines. I'm sure I didn't plan for that in my life. But anyway, then PETRONAS bought into KLCC, which that got me into the property line. And I still remember when I was asked to go, and at that point in time, it was like, who wants to sacrifice themselves to go into this really stupid project called KLCC? And at that point in time, we didn't even call it KLCC, we called it Sri Kuda. And for those of you who are young enough to remember, there used to be a turf club there. So the Selangor Turf Club used to be in Jalan Nampang, where we now happily go shopping in Suria. It used to be a place where we all gamble and spend money on race horses. Okay, anyway, so I'm a Muslim, not supposed to gamble. So, okay, anyway, so went there. We actually had to go and force people, and my boss looked at me and, "You civil engineer, kan?" I said, "Yes." He said, "But you've done horizontal, can do vertical." Okay. Logic to it somewhere, Okay lah. So So, but at that point in time, I think I decided that okay, let's try new things. Done enough of this guest stuff. Let's look at something new. And I had no idea it was going to be the tallest buildings in the world at that point. Frankly, I actually had no idea. All I knew was a turf club thing that we're going to tear down and build something on it. So okay, but build upstairs. But anyway, but now again, for me, why KLCC as a development was extra special. I must remember, it came from a PETRONAS with an oil and gas approach to doing construction, to safety standards, environmental, despite what they're saying in the Gulf of Mexico, environmental standards and what have you. So trying to convert what was, in my early years of experience, a Chinaman construction company punya thinking, which is basically what the building industry in Malaysia is about, for those of you who are in the business. We are very lax at control and quality, etc. in the building industry, in the property industry. So we were trying, and beyond the building tallest buildings at that point in time and all sorts of wonderful stuff, it was also converting the industry to accept better quality standards. Okay, change and making better use of space. So, to cut long story short, I spent 15 years at KLCC, honed my skills as project manager, honed my skills in scolding contractors and staff. But came out of that, and I think for me, the satisfaction I have was the fact that all the years people spend in trying to make this right. I think as a member of the public, and I sit in the side of the waterfall at the park, and I watch kids play, and I watch the public go to the only free things left in Malaysia, which is the park in KLCC. And I think it's nice. And certainly, driving in this evening, just looking out at the towers and going, hey, lampu tu kan, diorang tak tukar, very bad lah. So, because amongst other things, within those 15 years, I also spent 2 years as the chief cleaner, chief security guard, and chief tour guide of the PETRONAS Towers and the KLCC development. Basically, I was in charge of property management for a couple of years. So, project management, property management experience. So now the guru in property. Yeah, I like to think so at least. And then the next thing I get is a call for national service. Let's go to Iskandar. And then for those of and this is us trying to ready. Everyone is very comfortable in KL. So let me just say this: my biggest sell, the biggest pitch I have to make for Iskandar in the early days was not talking to foreign investors and getting money from FDIs, etc. It's just convincing people to move from KL to Johor. 90% of the people I go to and in casual conversation, would you consider relocating you and your family to Johor Bahru? And they're like, what? Why? The thing is, because we're not creating, we're not just building stuff. We have to create a place where people want to be. And what does it mean? What does it mean to create a place that people want to be? Now, you must remember, KL is a fairly, you don't compare with the rest of the world. I'm just not talking about Malaysians, people such as yourself. How do I incentivize? How do I encourage? How do I persuade you to relocate from, the nice stuff that you have here in KL, half of which I was involved with as well. Oh, by the way, I skipped over Putrajaya, but that's another long story. Let's just park it to experience. So the leaks, Jalan Duta, I wasn't involved, so it was not my fault. Auditors, oh God. Okay, anyway, but anyways, how do you convince people who are quite comfortable, and these are Malaysians, to relocate south? We even came up with silly things that, the song Go West? I can't remember who was it. Who was the singer? Pet Shop Boys, thank you very much. Okay, obviously a generation after me. So we actually changed the words Go West to Go South. So it was interesting. We actually had a rally here one time. Anyway, I think, how do you do this? Again, change. Again, trying to make something better from what is there now. Now, and I think everyone would know, anyone who knows about Johor Bahru would know that it had a very poor reputation on security, very poor planning, flooding every so often. So there are many basic things that you have to do. Now, again, I'm coming out of a 20-odd years experience in property and project management, and how do we then put all best practices? And again, the Malaysia Boleh spirit, all these mega projects that we've done, some became white elephants. How do you make sure you don't repeat those mistakes? So I think we spent quite a bit of time thinking before we went into implementation, and some people would just say, again, Malaysia Boleh spirit, today announce, tomorrow do everything. Right? So, but today we announced we actually spent 2 more years thinking and strategizing and planning and putting things in place.